Hello guys, it's John. So we're doing another Bakugan discussion, this time on the bind system. So, the bind system was kind of the main thing of BakuTech Gachi, and these Bakugan are fairly interesting. Of course, you have Bakugan that can just, split. I mean, take this for example. Okay. So, okay, you got two halves, and obviously you can close them and mix around as well. And just close these manual parts. So, there you go, you have two halves, and again, take them on and off while, that was out of focus, okay. Take them on and off in ball form, or while open, doesn't matter either way, both work, which is nice. So yeah, this is a fairly modular system in that regard, so want to point that out because I know some other like fusion Bakugan and like Baku mutants from Actinium Surge are like really weird with that kind of thing. I feel like they have to be open to take them apart, so yeah, anyway. I think the Gen 3 Bakugan are harder to take apart while closed, but yeah, it's either way, you can do whatever you want, and in case someone is not aware of the bind system yet, yeah, it's pretty cool in that way. So anyway, as far as what these do outside of just splitting in half, because obviously, it's cool and all, and I mean, it's interesting, but like, what separates these from like a Gen 3 Bakugan, Well, it's the gimmicks. So, first up here, you got something like Gogaryu, which is very, very strong for attack. You got like this metal horn here, with a strong spring in the head, which is good for attack. Also, these metal blades, you got two up here. And then there's also the two back here, which helps, support it being good for attack. And then kind of its counterpart here, which we'll get to in a second, Gigahorus. This thing's also a pretty solid attacker, has 6 metal pieces, which is good for weight. But also you can kind of move these pieces around. You have three, one on the head and then 2 on the wings, so like you could just like move that up. It can curve differently and stuff, depending on how you have it set, which is cool. So yeah, this thing has like metal sliders that help it curve, which is interesting. So you have the 3 on the front half, the back half also has 3, 2 on the wings, and then 1 on the tail underneath there. I have it set all the way to the bottom. But yeah, when BakuTech Gachi first came out, these two were kind of like the examples, effectively. In terms of like secondary colors and overall design, they definitely fit each other well as is. But if you want the primary colors to match, then you can swap them around. And like 9 years ago, when I unboxed Gigahorus, I said I'd make some kind of video about these two and their bind. Never did. We're going to do it right now. So you can actually take these two apart, as I showed earlier. It's very, very simple. And we can swap them around, and we can make 2 different Bakugan. Here we have Gohorus, and also Gigagaryu. So, now this guy is probably a bit better at attack than he was, since he has these bigger metal blades, which is probably better than like the 3 smaller sliders that you get before. So, pretty nice to have something like this, I will say. So there he is. You'd see it just works perfectly. Completely changed the Bakugan up, which is nice. However, it does lose some of that control if you wanted to use the metal sliders, since you only now have 3 instead of 6. So, a bit of a trade-off there. We'll talk more about that later, but yeah. And then, of course, we have, Gigagaryu here, which, let's see, loses out on some attack. I mean, he still has the head, which is really strong, the 2 blades, but now, yeah, the 3 metal parts, still decent, but not as good as its other metal blades. But now you can change up its spin a bit if you want to with the sliders, so yeah. Again, just a very cool system. You see just how close these parts are. Like, the designs, they did a great job splitting them up, but still making it feel connected in a sense, so yeah. As far as the other Bakugan go, because there are other bind system Bakugan, of course, They all have their own gimmicks. I'm not going to go like crazy in depth with these because I've already made videos on all of them. Actually, multiple videos on each one of these guys, like at least 2. So for Dragon Dragon, has 4 modes. The head can be up or down, the wings can be up or on the ground. Basically what this does, you have attack and defense. Attack is up, defense is down. You can mix and match if you want 1 and 1 in either configuration or just all attack, all defense, which is very cool. Also has like a decently strong, kind of strong head spring with the metal up here, which is nice. So yeah, you get 4 modes, which is very cool. Then for Zeta Minicus, this one's kind of weird. It's actually a bit more disconnected than the other ones. So I feel like a lot of the other gimmicks kind of play into each other. This one is different because these feet here can help for spin shots, which is nice. But in the back here is a G-Power wheel. It gives you different G-Power boosts of 10, 20, 40, or 200 Gs, which makes this thing a very good G-Power battler. There is the Friendship Mindset version of Minicus, which has 730 Gs, the highest BakuTech, well, base BakuTech G-Power. Not counting Bakugan Armors, which is kind of something that plays into the gimmick a little bit, but still requires, like an alternate version. But yeah, its main thing is kind of, you have these feet here, trigger for spin shots. Ogre Leonis, this one's a bit more bland, but you have kind of this metal part up here on the head, metal on the tail. It's kind of oval when it's closed, so it can kind of attack a bit better in that sense. And you have the metal to help with that. Also, it's just pretty big and tanky. Metal helps it with weight, so it's just kind of a decent all-rounder. Next up, LaShao Falco. This is the one where I just don't really have an answer for its gimmick. I guess the feet are metal. It doesn't do a whole lot though, because they're really small. The main thing I can note is that there are some holes on the Bakugan, which I guess you could say it's more aerodynamic, especially in the back. But that's a really lame gimmick. I've had this thing for 9 years, have not found any real gimmick to it. No one else really has either. I've looked everywhere. This thing's just kind of boring. Next up we have Jabufudo. Jabufudo, this thing. The front part doesn't have as much of a gimmick. It's just kind of a decent defensive shape, which is understandable. But that's because the back, this gimmick is just busted. It has it's weaker, but it's still a secondary magnet in the tail. So that's still very powerful. Even if it's not as strong as a normal magnet, it still helps out a lot. Very, very defensive. And lastly, we just kind of have this extra bind piece here, which comes on Bujin Dragon. But yeah, the Bujin piece, it doesn't do anything. It's just kind of a cool piece to have. It's decently defensive, I guess, because I have 3 pieces touching the ground. It's meant to hold its ground and stuff, but kind of just worse than Jigen Dragon, entirely. I'd rather just use Jigen in its defensive setup than Bujin. It is what it is, though. Also, to clear this up, I have heard some people say that Bujin has a special ability built into it. So if you use it, you could just use that automatically. That's not true. There is no special ability for Bujin that it just has access to by using the part. So just want to clear that up now. So as far as the bind system goes, how effective is it? What can you do with it? So aside from being very, very cool and modular and just great engineering, not the peak of Bakugan engineering. That'll be next time. But it is still a very, very cool thing. In terms of just its effectiveness, though, I do think it is actually a pretty effective system. So you take something here what's a decent setup here. I don't have anything off the top of my head actually, but let's grab a couple Bakugans. So let's just take these two, right? We'll take the Garyu piece and the Jigen piece and put these together. So you still have a little bit of metal weight here in the back, so it has a bit of weight, but not a ton. Not as good as the metal blades, but you still have all the stuff up here. But these wings can now move down, so you have it an attack and defense mode, while still having really strong attack on the front here. But when it opens up, you can make it more defensive and just tanky in general, with the wings going down, which is very cool. And That's kind of the thing. These things you could kind of have different combinations. Well, and this is kind of what I'm getting at the entire time, is that, well, if you choose to bind, the main ability of a BakuTech will kind of be lost in a sense, not entirely, but like, it won't be as good as it is if you're just using it stock. But if you choose to bind with something else, then you get two abilities. And while, yes, they are both a bit weaker in that sense, well, you still get two different abilities, so you can, mix and match with that. I'm not sure I'd say it's always worth binding. I think a lot of the times it is better just to use these guys normally, but there are still some pretty cool combinations, and there are interesting cases as well. Again, like I've already mentioned, Jagafudo, the front piece isn't really that crazy. I swear it's a stronger magnet than average, but I think that's just me. I don't, yeah, anyway. It's just kind of a decent defensive part. So you can maybe give it a different gimmick if you want to. Maybe the shape won't be as good, but still you can give it a different gimmick. And then, pair the magnet tail. And again, Zeta Monicus, you could pair the back part if you want to give something else higher G power, or again, use the spin shot feet here for something else. It's a fairly dynamic system, which I like a lot. So you just kind of mix and match however you want with these things, and really just do whatever. Again, generally speaking, I think these guys are the best on their own, but again, you get different gimmicks, and even just the physical attributes of the Bakugan themselves can be mixed and matched. You can make a ton of different combinations here. Is my voice just started to die? That's not good. Anyway, you can make a ton of different combinations here, which is, again, great. Tons of different ideas here. I honestly wish that there was more to this. I wish there were more Bakugan in the bind system to mess with, but yeah. For what we got, though, again, you can still do a lot of cool stuff. Even, excluding Bujin, just these 7 main ones, you have 49 combinations, which is kind of crazy to think about. So yeah, there's a lot to do here, for sure. With Bujin, you have 56, so yeah, a lot of cool stuff with the bind system, for sure. Probably my favorite of the systems, well, second favorite overall, I would say. It's the coolest system, I would say, though. It just has the most going on. But for what I think is the best system, design-wise, it'll be next time's system for tomorrow's video, the armor system. So it's all for the bind system. Very, very cool system. Pretty effective for what it tries to do. Again, wish there were maybe some more Bakugan in the system, but it is what it is. So anyways, that's all for this video. So thanks for watching, and bye-bye.